Now, we know that the government is spending up large in an effort to keep the economy intact after lockdown. But where on earth does all that money come from?
Who's got billions of dollars sitting in their back pocket to just transfer into the government's bank account overnight? Julian Lee explains.
So you need a wee loan, say something in the vicinity of, I don't know, $12 billion like the government just spent. In fact, that's just the first of it. Parliament actually voted just before the lockdown to allow itself to borrow how much?
Mr. Speaker, this bill will approve capacity for $52 billion of spending on our immediate COVID-19 response.
Phew! Where do you get that kind of cash in a hurry? Cash converters? Well, the government has a secret weapon. Bonds.
So when the government spends more than it's got revenue coming in, it needs to fund that somehow. And the way that the government does that is issue government bonds in financial markets, which are effectively an IOU.
Okay, well, bonds, basically government debt, don't sound particularly exciting. But they're like catnip to finance people.
Now the Japanese have taken their revenge, refusing to support a $600 million government loan.
The New Zealand Minister of Finance has called that blackmail, and you're pretty well telling me that that's what it is.
It's considered one of the most safest, lowest risk instruments, partly because it's issued by the government.
But who's going to buy all these bonds? Most of us don't have a cool billy just sitting in our cheque account. These fellas do, though. The Reserve Bank.
So last month we announced a program of buying $33 billion worth of New Zealand government bonds and local government bonds over the next 12 months. And so far we've purchased around $7 billion.
Wait a minute, that sort of sounds like the government lending itself money.
It's not free money because when the Reserve Bank buys those government bonds, we have to fund those. We're an investor like anyone else, so we expect to be paid back at the end when these bonds mature.
So what's the catch? There's always a catch. For example, how is the Reserve Bank paying for all these bonds?
We're creating electronic money to buy government bonds. Through this process, we create money, not physical cash, but electronic money.
Oh, they're just making more money to pay for the government debt. Why didn't anyone think of doing that before?
However, Mr. Key disputes these figures and says talk from the Greens of printing money to help is crazy.
If printing money is the way to go, and that's going to bail out our problems in Christchurch, why don't we just print lots of money, give it to every New Zealander, and they'll have a great Christmas.
20 years ago, this would have been called unconventional monetary policy. Now, with COVID-19, effectively every developed country around the world is taking this sort of practice.
It's funny how quickly things change. Yesterday's fringe political opinion is today's mainstream monetary policy. Let's hope it all pays off.
That's right, it's like the old days of social cricket, Gary Knapp and Bruce Beetham.